Greetings from the Cheating Story Lab. Please comment below with your location. I never fathomed attending an ex-spouse's wedding uninvited, but life often thrusts us into unexpected scenarios. This narrative unfolds approximately 2 years following Robert's divorce from Helena, a union that lasted 8 years and was far from amicable. There were allegations, legal battles, and mutual feelings of pain throughout the separation. By its conclusion, Robert found himself unwelcome among her entire family. Helena hailed from a wealthy lineage, with summers in the Hamptons and generations-old country club memberships. Her father, William, helmed a prosperous investment firm, while her mother, Patricia, was heavily invested in charity work. They never fully accepted Robert, an accountant from the middle class who encountered Helena during a community college night class. Attended their dinner soirees, chuckled at William's golf anecdotes, and contributed to Patricia's philanthropies. Yet there was always a pervasive unease, as if I were an overstaying guest in their realm. The divorce transformed the situation drastically. I was no longer merely an unsuitable spouse. I became the wrongdoer who had harmed their cherished Helena. Although the truth was more convoluted, familial loyalty runs deep when defending one's own. For 2 years, there was silence from them. I relocated, immersed myself in work, and gradually reconstructed my life. Then 3 weeks ago, an unanticipated phone call arrived. "Is this Robert Chen?" The voice belonged to an elderly, unknown caller. "Yes, who's speaking? This is Margaret Sullivan, Helena's grandmother." I recalled her dimly, a shrewd woman in her 80s who seemed capable of piercing through everyone's masks. She had always been kind to me, which made her an outsider amidst Helena's family. "She informed me that Helena is remarrying to a man named Trevor," she went on. "On the upcoming Saturday at the Riverside Country Club, their wedding takes place." I wasn't certain why she felt compelled to tell me this. "My condolences for them," I responded diplomatically. "Susan, there's something I must ask you directly and honestly. Did you discover any proof of Helena's infidelity during our marriage?" Her query caught me off guard. "Lisa, it might not be suitable to delve into that topic." "Please," she pleaded urgently. "I wouldn't inquire otherwise, but this young man, Trevor, is 23 years old. Helena is now 35. He comes from an affluent family with roots in Philadelphia. History seems to be repeating itself, and I cannot stand idly by while another vulnerable individual faces potential harm." After a lengthy pause, I remained silent. In truth, I had long suspected that Helena was unfaithful during the final years of our marriage. Long nights at work raised suspicions, cryptic phone calls, and an unbridgeable gap between us. Yet I never had solid evidence, and by the time I mustered courage to hire a private detective, she had already filed for divorce. I suspected but lacked proof. "I do," Mrs. Sullivan whispered. "For 6 months, a private detective has been monitoring her. I have photographs, Robert, hotel receipts, phone records." She was unfaithful to Trevor with her trainer Marcus, repeating the pattern she had with you. My heart raced. "Why are you informing me of this?" "Because Trevor reminds me of you when you first joined this family. He's a good person who deserves more. And because I need someone impartial to deliver this information, so it can't be dismissed as the ramblings of a resentful older woman, she wanted me to disrupt the wedding reception and expose Helena's infidelity." Appeared absurd, yet she sounded sincere. "I'll forward you the proof," she mentioned. "You needn't decide immediately, but if you elect to act upon it, the event commences at 7. I'll ensure your name is on the guest list." Arrived the package 2 days later, photographs of Helena entering and exiting a downtown hotel with a muscular man who was undeniably not Trevor. Credit card statements verifying payments made to that same hotel on various instances. Text messages revealing beyond doubt their relationship nature. The week was spent debating whether to act on the information received. One part of me yearned to remain at home, acting as if I'd never gotten the call. Yet another part persistently thought about Trevor, likely grappling with similar doubts, questioning if he was misinterpreting things or if his instincts were guiding him towards something crucial. On the wedding night, I donned my finest suit and drove to Riverside Country Club. The party bustled upon my arrival. Helena glowed resplendent in an elegant off-white dress design, while Trevor seemed genuinely content as they circulated amongst the cheerful congregation of well-wishers. I maintained a position at the room's periphery, sipping wine and observing the festivities, unnoticed by any or politely overlooked if observed. However, Helena's brother Christopher detected my presence from afar. Acknowledged as her staunchest defender amongst their kin, he was a year younger but claimed his role as her protector against potential harm. During our divorce, he conveyed his feelings regarding me in multiple heated phone conversations. He decisively maneuvered through the crowd, his rigid jaw telegraphing impending confrontation. "What on earth are you doing here?" he snapped upon reaching me, his tone hushed yet undeniably hostile. "I was invited," I replied evenly. "Helena would never extend a wedding invitation to you nor any family member. You're correct, Helena did not invite you," Christopher acknowledged, his eyes narrowing. "But who did receive an invitation then?" Before I could respond, James and Richard, Helena's cousin and uncle respectively, joined the conversation, their expressions suggesting they might need to eject me from the gathering. "Any issues here?" Uncle Richard inquired, looking at both Christopher and me. "Robert Gate crashed the wedding," Christopher stated. "He shouldn't be present." "On the contrary," I replied, reaching into my coat pocket, "I possess something that Trevor ought to see before this matter escalates further." "What are you referring to?" James inquired sharply. I produced the envelope Mrs. Sullivan had sent me. "Your sister is infidelitating with her new husband's personal trainer, a relationship that has been ongoing for at least 6 months, possibly longer." The revelation struck the gathering like a tangible force. In a blink, Christopher shifted from angry to dumbfounded. "You're fibbing," he retorted, though his tone lacked conviction. "I wish I were," I replied, "but I have proof." I passed him the envelope. "Hotel receipts, pictures, text messages, it's all included." Christopher seemed to gaze at the envelope as if it might burst. "Even if this were a fabrication, which I doubt, why would you deliver it here tonight?" "Because Trevor needs to learn about her infidelity before he signs his name on a mortgage with her, before they start a family, before he devotes years of his life to someone who isn't faithful." "You're simply bitter over the divorce," Uncle Richard commented. "This is retaliation." "Perhaps it is," I conceded, "but that doesn't make the evidence any less authentic." Eventually, Christopher opened the envelope. I observed his face as he scanned through the photographs, his expression morphing from disbelief to horror to an emotion akin to desolation. "Jesus Christ," he breathed softly. James glanced behind him and drained of color. "That's undeniably Helena, and that's certainly not Trevor." The trio stood motionless for what seemed like an endless moment. The celebration persisted around us. Helena and Trevor were slicing their wedding cake as guests clapped and snapped pictures. "What should we do about this?" Christopher eventually queried, his tone echoing. "That's not my call to make," I replied. "However, I believe Trevor has a right to understand the nature of the marriage he's stepping into." Uncle Richard was fixedly gazing at Helena, who chuckled at something Trevor had whispered in her ear. "She claimed she'd transformed after your divorce, declared she'd grasped the lesson about commitment." "Some individuals don't change," I said. "They merely become adept at concealing their true selves." Christopher sealed the envelope and regarded me with an expression unfamiliar to me. It wasn't wrath or animosity, but something more akin to admiration. "For how long have you been aware?" he questioned. "I obtained the evidence a week ago, yet I harbored suspicions of something similar during our marriage, lacking the proof then. Why didn't you discover this during our divorce? Would you have believed me, or would you have dismissed me as a bitter ex-husband seeking revenge against Helena?" He remained silent, but we both knew his unspoken response. James continued to scrutinize the photographs. "This trainer, isn't he the one she was seeing during her divorce?" A chill ran through me. "What exactly do you imply?" Marcus Rivera. "He's been Helena's personal trainer for approximately 3 years now. She began working with him around the same time our marriage started deteriorating." The facts fell into place with chilling precision. Helena hadn't just been unfaithful to Trevor, she had deceived me as well, conducting an affair with the same man throughout our marriage. Our divorce, based on her claims of my marital inadequacy, was a fabrication. The truth was that she had been carrying on an affair the entire time. "She ruined our marriage for him," I murmured, "and it seems she's repeating the act with Trevor." Christopher glanced over the room, fixing his gaze on their posing sister and her new spouse. "Trevor's a decent man," he said emphatically. "He doesn't deserve this betrayal." I nodded in agreement. "No, he doesn't." Uncle Richard shook his head slowly. "If this truth surfaces now, it will shatter both families, the scandal alone. If it doesn't, it will eventually destroy Trevor," I warned. "Perhaps not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but at some point. Helena lacks fidelity. She has shown that twice already." The discussion was halted by Trevor himself, who approached us, sensing our deep conversation. "Hey, is everything all right here?" he asked casually, unaware his life was on the verge of collapse. Christopher looked at me, then at the envelope in his possession, then back at Trevor. For an instant, it seemed he might divulge the evidence and allow Trevor to decide its fate. Instead, he pocketed the envelope in his jacket. "All is well, Trevor, merely conversing with Robert now." Trevor's smile flickered as he recognized me. "Robert, Helena's former spouse," I confirmed. "Congratulations on your union." he replied hesitantly. I wasn't aware you would be here tonight. A recent inclusion to the guest roster, I stated. Trevor nodded uneasily and hastened back to his bride. Upon departing Trevor out of earshot, Christopher turned to me once more. This can't occur now, he said. Not tonight, not in this manner. When then? I inquired. In 2 years after their marriage, following the purchase of a shared home and when Helena carries their child. I'm unsure, Christopher replied, but not here. At the wedding reception, I revealed the truth. Helena's secret was not a surprise to Grandma Maggie, who had hired a private investigator and included me on the guest list. The men were taken aback by this news, with James asking if Grandma Maggie knew about it. I confirmed that she did, as she saw Helena repeating a destructive pattern similar to what she had experienced. Christopher seemed disheartened, stating that this revelation would lead to our entire family's collapse. However, I pointed out that the implosion was already underway. It was impossible to perceive from within. I departed the reception 20 minutes afterward, avoiding a spectacle, declining to challenge Helena head-on, opting instead for a less dramatic unveiling of truth. However, I sowed the seeds of honesty in those who required it. 3 days hence, Mrs. Sullivan phoned again. Trevor canceled the honeymoon, she said. Christopher presented him with proof yesterday morning. The union may likely be invalidated. A sense of sadness and relief washed over me. I felt sorry for Trevor, grappling with the same distress and deception I'd endured. Yet there was also relief that he wouldn't spend years uncovering the truth. How is Helena coping? I inquired. As one might expect, Mrs. Sullivan replied curtly. She is enraged with Christopher for breaking her trust, annoyed with me for intervening, and particularly angry with you for exposing the truth. I can cope with that, I replied. I hope so, she responded, because this isn't finished yet. Helena doesn't handle humiliation well, and she's going to blame you for everything that transpired. She was correct. Over the subsequent weeks, I learned from mutual connections that Helena was spreading rumors to anyone willing to listen, claiming I had deliberately ruined her marriage. Some people accepted her version of events out of jealousy or spite, while others, those who had observed her actions during our own relationship, remained more doubtful. However, none of this concerned me anymore. I had done what I believed was right, and I found peace in that choice. Trevor needed to know the truth before he pledged his life to someone untrustworthy with his heart. Occasionally it seems chaotic, confusing, and morally questionable, yet at times it's still worth pursuing despite personal sacrifices. 6 months passed, I learned Trevor had begun dating someone else, a partner his own age, free from Helena's history and complexities. I hoped he would be more cautious this time, trusting his intuition when something didn't sit right. As for Helena, I heard she relocated to another city to begin anew. I sincerely wished her well. Yet I also yearned that she might finally grasp a lesson she had long evaded. That genuine love necessitates honesty, dedication, and the bravery to expose oneself to another. Some people can achieve such love, while others cannot. The key lies in discerning the difference before investing precious years discovering it painfully. Farewell. If this tale strikes a chord, tap the like and subscribe for additional genuine tales about relationships, deceit, and the intricate decisions we all face. And always keep in mind that occasionally, the harshest truth is preferable to the warmest falsehood.